Watt has tied Michael Strahan's single-season record.
Oh, no.
In the air to right. This is deep, and he did it again! Jack Suwinski wins it for the Pirates. 3 home runs in a game.
Welcome to another live Pittsburgh Sports Line in the BP TV studio. Happy New Year again. Chip Hainer can't make it tonight. He's still recovering from a second knee transplant. It's taking a lot more time for him to heal up and get back on, and we'll tell you who the substitute is again. He has his own segment there. He weaseled into here somehow, so we'll do that.
He'll be back for Black History Month.
Only Smokin' Jim could say that. First disclaimer of the night. First one of 2023. Everything that Smokin' Jim says and believes is contrary to what we say and believe. So it does not represent Bethel Park. It does not represent my Pittsburgh Sports Line show. It's an award-winning show, many times without Smokin' Jim. So we'll just go with that. We appreciate all of you watching us on Comcast 7, only in Bethel Park. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park, and all the way from Nemacolin, Cranberry, Wexford. Shout out to Joe Hardy, the legend, passed away on his 100th birthday. He founded Nemacolin. He helped found the Meadows. I met him years ago, so he's in our prayers, and he made it to 100. So we appreciate that. Just a great man with what he did with 84 Lumber and many other things in the area. And on Facebook, I know it's over 6,900. Nick will always correct me, 6,926 or 24. Exactly. Or now he doesn't have the information, so VIP just dropped a notch. All right, well, we got some promos to do, and by popular demand, I'm trying to do them very quick, so no interruptions from the peanut gallery, and we'll start right now. We got Corey. First up is Olive Oil's Pizzeria at Hillcrest Shopping Center, 412-831-1900. They sponsor our show. If you watch it, you know what they sponsor us with. That's for you to understand. Thank you. Next up, we end each show with Stay Joey Strong. Let's see how Corey's doing here. Excellent. Look at how my yellow shirt. We end each show with Stay Joey Strong, honoring Joey, who died of a dreaded brain cancer, DIPG, at 8 years old, and that's almost 9 years ago now. So go to Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation and check out to see what they do, and check out their Facebook page. Give them a like. All right. Next up, another 501c3. Always be smiling, and try to ignore if you hear little comments from Nick and Smokin' Jim. They have a love fest going on air.
Is that what you would call this?
I call it that because I'd rather not be derogatory. I take the positive aspect. You guys might call it something else, but I've been positive about everybody that I think they're better than they possibly are. I've been disappointed my whole life, including tonight.
Oh.
So just thought I'd help that out. Poor Bennett is the B and always be smiling. He was a handicapped child, had 2 kidney transplants. And you can go to their Facebook page, Always Be Smiling. Please like their page. All right, Corey's up again. Let's see what he can do. Is it on automatic, or he's tuning in. Look at this. Will the yellow show up? Great job. Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center, 2600 South Park Road. They have Reginald's Coffee, best coffee in the area, 1905 schoolhouse, completely remodeled. Check them out. Go to Bethel Park Historical Society. Give the page a like and check them out. Next up, let's see. Corey got to do a big sheet of paper. Let's see how he handles this. Oh, there it is. Excellent. Thank you, Corey. You're on fire. Bethel Park Community Foundation is a 501c3. They do a lot of great activities. The biggest one is Bethel Bounty every December. Great fundraiser. They've given out over $1 million in 26 years. Check it out, bpcf.org. Last but not least, guns. I want you for BPTV. Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. Look at that close-up of the smiling, talking machine on Uncle Sam. Give a call, 412-831-3304. By the way, do any of you remember that clap on and clap off with the lights and TV? I hope it's not working tonight because Smokin' Jim is starting the year off with a big clap. But if you want to join the team here, we got Michael Mariano. We got Johnny Mariana. We got Marco Rody. We got Diane Rody, who drove Marco in. And she's the brother of Johnny Mariano. We got Corey here. Yeah. We got Nick in front of the camera and behind the camera. He set it all up with Facebook Live, and I'll have to check it out. So you can be doing this. All right, let's go to What's on Your Mind, Smokin' Jim Frazier.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
yes,
you got to see Levine. You see that white receiver for Georgia last night, number 84. I like him, man.
I watched the whole game. What was the point spread?
12 and a half. The bookies got ran over on that one. But
how did they miss that when they're always so good?
But I tell you what, I listened to the fan this morning. Al Levine, the talking machine. I've never been so proud since they hired Nick, right? The host of the fan this morning said when he looked at Georgia, the first thing he thought about when he seen that G was Gateway Gators. He said that on the fan. A national championship team that wins by 70 points, and the first thing they think of, that looked like Gateway out there with that G.
There's another disclaimer. As again, everything that Smokin' Jim says and talks about is being disclaimed because we don't promote this on our show, and we don't believe.
I'm just quoting.
We don't believe. We started a long history. I'll give you a background on a disclaimer. For most of you, I need one source to back up what you're saying. For Smokin' Jim, we started 8 years ago. We need 17 sources. He's never had any backup with that, even that he went to Gateway or that he went and was a starting running back that looked like Urkel at Cal U. So that just puts it in perspective. Carry on. What's really on your mind?
Al Levine, the talking machine, and I'll be very quick. I got to give a shout out to my godson. My godson was voted the national.
Could you tell us his real name?
I will. I'll get to it. Don't blow my punchline. My godson was voted the national freshman of the week. His last game, he scored 33 points against Northwestern in a 1-point loss. He's a 6'6" point guard. He won 2 national championships.
Where did he get the height from?
High school in Florida. And to kick it all off, he was at one time the youngest guest we ever had on Pittsburgh Sports Line. Al Levine, the talking machine, interviewed him. Jalen Hood Shafino, true freshman for Indiana University, probably the best freshman they had since Isaiah Thomas. And he's just eating up the league right now, and I couldn't be more proud of him. And a future NBA star. And let's not forget, his mama, Angel, is fine, brother. Well, beautiful. NGL?
Well, this is under a partial disclaimer. We had her on our show once.
Yes, sir.
And he wanted to have her on again. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, they had a communication problem.
Yeah.
Because he has over 100 godchildren,
Yes.
and he has 300 cousins.
Yes.
And I've met most of them at fights. So the veracity of his statements are under question. Jalen was a nice, respectful young kid. He has good
Yes, sir.
GPAs and stuff like that. He listens to his mama, unlike Smoking Jim, who just says hi to his mama. And
A lot better personalities than his uncles.
well, we know their reputations over the years. Again, these are his own.
His aunts are beautiful.
The-
But you can have uncles.
Shout out to Drew Shafino. I watched him
One of the
play.
all-time great.
I
Huh?
watched him play many a time and was always proud of him. And didn't he go to West Virginia?
Well, he went to West Virginia and could have went anywhere. I thought he was I thought he was going to go straight to the NBA. I thought he was the next Kobe Bryant. But when you got bad attitude.
Well, luckily they're not like Smoking Jim, because he has.
I had a good one.
He has one of the great. He don't even let me give him a compliment. I got to do these disclaimers because we don't script any of this. So whatever he says is like the loose cannon that all of you know. And we'll move on in a second. First, thanks, Smoking Jim. Jim Ellenbogen, who's here, he's watching. So we'll say we got Smoking Jim Frazier, Jim Guns Ellenbogen, Nick VIP Callis, otherwise known as Harry Callis, out of Philadelphia, who Smoking Jim doesn't know who Harry Callis is. But that's he doesn't.
Oh, I didn't even think you wouldn't know that.
He doesn't know baseball.
No, that's true.
He doesn't. And no matter what he says about it. So, and I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Mario Tempest is watching. He said, hello, guys. Big
my
fan
man.
of our show from the beginning. His mother, Ann, was one of the greatest guests we had on our show, and she brought in the best Christmas cookies that I ever
Both of
had.
them are in our Hall of Fame.
I understand why. Ralph Williams, hello.
That's my dude.
Chief McElroy, hello. Happy New Year. Get well, Chipper. Amy, hello, guys. Hope you feel better, Chip. Our friend in West Virginia, Cameron Trevaknik, is watching. So thank you. She's a beast down there. Good luck in her wrestling career.
All right.
And she's a judge in West Virginia for boxing. Unbelievable. She's truly in charge. Pete Ridge, thanks for watching. Sue Schneider, thanks for watching. Johnny Mariano, great show. Hey, was Smoking Jim ever a contestant on the dating game? Amy, I like your haircut, Nick.
Thank you.
George Vickers is watching. Dr. John Donatelli's watching. Thank you for watching in Iowa, sir. We appreciate your comments and watching.
Brother cut.
Marilyn Mance, one of our greatest beep beep guests and comedian, was on our show. And then, that should cover it all. We got it. So thanks to all of you watching. What's on your mind, Guns?
Well, before I start, we got to give a shout out to the head of the Mariano clan, who just had a little health event over the weekend. Big Mike Mariano, hope you're feeling well. And you raised a good crew there.
And Jim, he makes a great red Italian wine. I met him on my driveway many years ago, and he's allowed to park in my lot anytime there's a parade.
As long as he leaves the lasagna or wine, right?
No, just the wine.
Just the wine, right?
Yeah. Carry on.
All right. Steelers season over. I finally learned that the standard is the standard. You know, I always call Mike Tomlin James Bond, and once again he escapes.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
The standard now, when we grew up, the standard was championships. Now the standard is a winning season. How about that?
And we did it.
And we did it. But the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around is when we were 2-6, it was everybody's fault but the coach. But now that we're 9-8, it's all about what the coach did.
Yes, sir.
So James Bond wins it again.
I got to do a little sidebar to that because that's one of my points, but you usurped me on that. And my question was, look that word up, usurp.
Usurp.
Yeah, and it's like syrup in your pancakes. When I wondered and was talking about 6-2 and coaches matter and people, I had some pushback about coaches, and then quarterbacks get all the blame, and they forgot the offensive line, they forgot the defensive line, they forgot all these other parts to it. And I always was taught that you need the horses, but coaches are supposed to coach players up. So if they coach them up in the last half of the season, what are they doing the first half? And I leave this up to all of you because I trust your intelligence and the lack of Kool-Aid and the black and gold we're bleeding. So just have that point, and I got more to add to that. Thanks, Guns, for bringing that up.
As far as the team goes, Kenny Pickett has become a better manager this year. He still has a little problem with some of the mechanics.
How about vision?
Vision down the field a little bit. But one of the things somebody said to me is, our receivers have made some great catches. Yeah, because the ball is not on target. That's why. So he's got some work to do there. The offensive line, they've improved tremendously in terms of the running game. They still don't know how to set up for a pass because Pickett is always running for his life when he's in the pocket. So I think we got to get a left tackle. Center is okay, maybe, but they need some work.
Well, did you see our last center, Kendrick Green, wasn't even
small.
available for the game, and he's a guard now.
He's too small.
He was supposed to be a good guard in college. So who was scouting our teams? Because Smoking Jim doesn't come in all the time during COVID. They sort of missed him. So I think there's some lacking in the back room there.
The offensive line needs an anchor. We've had four All-Pro centers that have anchored that line since the beginning of time, starting with the Ranger back in the day.
The best.
So they need to get an anchor. And I almost say Crow because, I've always said that the defensive line, with the exception of Hayward, belongs on a milk carton.
Yes.
And when I seen a defensive end snatch a guy down, I thought, wow, I got to eat that one. Until I saw he grabbed him by his face mask and throw him down. So
how did they not?
They didn't even call a flag. But they called it. But they got even by calling Hayward for roughing, which was the biggest joke I ever seen.
I got a question for all of you. How did Hayward rough the passer when he didn't touch him?
That was payback for missing him, ripping
There's
the
the
guy's
answer
head off.
from. You got the expert analysis from Guns.
He ripped. I mean, how could you not see that? And they ate that one, so that's how they play the game.
Payback for moving out of Monroeville when he was in junior high, and now going to Gateway. I never
Smoking Jim.
Call.
I'll never forgive him for that.
Smoking Jim.
Unforgivable.
We know you have personality issues.
You're wearing a White Sox hat. What do you care?
But it was nice to see TJ playing well again.
Yeah.
And I love the Steeler running game. The addition of
Warren.
with Warren gives
Jaylen
him
Warren.
a chance to spell himself, and he's running like the beast. That's
Well,
Steeler black and blue football.
Since you brought it up, I got to add a little bit in because I was going to touch on this. Those first 6-7 games when the Herman Munster shoe was on Najee, and everybody in local media and friends of mine told me Najee's one of the biggest busts that we've seen. Well, I have one question. How did he finish the year with a half-hearted offensive line over 1,000 yards? When the first half of the year he couldn't even run. Look at he's making jump cuts and doing this. And then how's he catch one of the passes where Pickett's looking at him and he missed the other guys on the field that were open, but he did get Najee for a touchdown pass. Why haven't we thrown, because we threw so many passes to Najee last year, why is it under 10 this year?
Well, I can tell you one thing. Whoever made him realize that he's a power back did the right thing, because I think he thought he was a scat back for the first few games. But now he's running straight ahead, and I look forward to him with a good offensive line in the future. Two other things, we need an inside linebacker.
At least two.
Defense needs a little tweaking. And what I wouldn't do for another rushing defensive end, I wouldn't know what to do. So
No,
that's
great
what's on
point.
my mind.
Thank you very much. Shout out to Tony from Chick-fil-A. We haven't been in, my son and I. We almost came in today, but we'll get to see you. Smoking Jim, favorite blues singer, B.B. King for me. Well, he likes country.
Yes.
He's a country fan, and he can't tell you who sings country.
I
But
love my Dolly Partons now.
well, she must have been on TV or on a show, and maybe they put her in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because that's the only reason he'd know anything. He gets these little things on the screen like I do. And, thanks for watching and your input, Tony from Chick-fil-A. All right, let's go to the VIP. What's on your mind?
Well, let's start off with the Pirates, because I like baseball.
Hold it. What time of year is this?
I know. I'll get to. I got plenty to say about the Steelers. Don't worry. I'm just trying to mix it up a little bit before I get into the opinion segment, because there's
We don't want to lose fans
no.
because this is still football season. Even though we're not in the playoffs, we could have been and should have been, but they screwed us.
Well,
They had Joe Flacco playing. Oh, sorry. I just went on a little rant.
That's a good call. Flacco's been sticking it to us. He probably sat there and
Since
said, "I'll
Fitz."
get him."
He did.
not a single touchdown was scored by either team. That definitely was a Joe Flacco giving us the bird. But anyway, so the Pirates traded Zach Thompson, one of their big pieces. Although they claim they're big pieces of the starting rotation, I think they acquired him for Jacob Stallings too, which makes me a little bit upset because I like Jacob Stallings. Whether they didn't want to pay him and they just wanted to dump him off and sign a cheaper option than Roberto Perez last season, that's all kind of gotten me a bit confused. And then they trade for a guy who might be a good outfielder. So I don't like not knowing, and the ownership just wants us to trust them, and that just makes me not trust them even more. So I'm losing trust in the Pirates. There's just a lot of moves right now that I'm not quite understanding. Signing a bunch of old guys and now trading a guy in Zach Thompson that you claimed was going to be one of the foundational pieces of the rotation, somebody who could develop and be good. So that, to me, is a little fishy. As for the Steelers, I'm still upset with the team. You finished 9-8 and you don't go to the playoffs. I really thought they were going to make it. I'm mad at the Jets for not scoring a touchdown. Man, there was one play at the end of the game where I thought there was pass interference, but maybe that was just me and my biased glasses speaking for the Steelers when the Jets were making that final run. And then instead of throwing the ball deep, they decide on doing one of those pitch-back plays that just collapsed and ended in a safety. So
Hold it. Who was their quarterback?
it was Joe Flacco.
How many years has he been in the league?
Does Joe Flacco hate the Steelers enough to let the Dolphins enter the playoffs? He might. I'm not going to not buy that theory.
You know he
It's
left.
very
You
possible.
know he left Pitt.
It's very possible.
They're
You
like
know he
missed an
left
easy
Pitt.
field goal too.
Yeah,
Okay, well, if a guy left Pitt, do you think he loves Pittsburgh?
probably not.
Everybody missed an easy field goal.
I'm not
back
going to
then, too.
speculate about the man. I don't want to give you slander here. There are a bunch of theories out there that could exist. Al could very well be correct. I'm not to say. All I know is that the Jets.
I don't have to be correct.
the
I'm
Jets,
just observing
The
stuff.
Dolphins didn't score a touchdown, and the Jets didn't score a touchdown, and the Dolphins hadn't won a game since the end of November, and then the Jets allowed them to kind of sneak in and win. And so that upsets me a little bit. I was on the tank brigade, then the Steelers got my hopes up a little bit, and then they forgot to make the playoffs. So that's tough. So that makes me sad. So what's on my mind? I'm sad about the Pirates. I'm sad about the Steelers. I'm sad about the Penguins a little bit. They're being too streaky for me. Lose 6, win 1. Now what are they going to do tonight? I think they're playing tonight even. Everything just. Oh, they're losing 3-0. Are they? Yeah, they're losing 3-0 right now in their game. So woo!
Steve.
I'm sad about a lot of things with Pittsburgh sports right now. Me growing up watching a successful hockey team and football team, and right now we're going through some growing pains. I haven't seen the Pirates do very well in my time. They haven't won any championships, and now I'm watching them kind of make a bunch of moves telling me to trust them. It's all just very sad Pittsburgh sports. That's what's on my mind.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, but I was 24 years old 42 years ago.
I'm jealous of you guys because you grew up in a winning baseball era.
I wanted
and I
you
hate
to say that.
I hate that.
I wanted you.
I do hate that. I got a little resentment. Not that I'm going to hate Al. It's
We're
not-
all in the
wasn't his choice.
minefield. You're still a young guy.
You don't know who Harry Callis is. You don't know who Harry Callis is.
Great point.
Smoke it.
And I'm glad we could get past the baseball because we lived through that. That's why I had to throw age out. I usually don't because I don't think old. Not yet. I'm not getting mean and old yet. I'm trying not to, but he's provoking me. We had 20-plus years of seeing what you're disappointed in the last half of your
rinky-dinks.
life.
But here's what kind of gets.
That's what we've seen.
Even
Here's
had
what-
the Pittsburgh Pipers.
Here's what kind of gets me.
They were
like,
good.
Yeah.
Like the Pirates, sometimes I don't care about as much in Pittsburgh sports because they're notorious for not doing well. The Steelers, I hate the Steelers. I have feelings about the Steelers because they're giving me hope, right? Like they go 2-6, but then 3-7, but they don't give up, right? The talent shows a bit. They're over 500 again, but what did an over 500 record get them? Not the playoffs. So like I have to feel for the Steelers because like they were streaky bad, then they were streaky good, and they were like on the doorstep of making it to the next round of games that might matter for your season, and they didn't do it. So, but the Pirates, just like 3 years of good and then perpetual poor play, has gotten them not really in the playoffs very often. So that's what I'm kind of saying. The Pirates are a special brand of bad because I get to the point where I've lost hope and I don't care as much. Whereas the Steelers, the fact that I hate them is still good for their team because at least I care about them in some way. So that's the difference.
It may have been a blessing they didn't make it because if they that at least gives people hope over the winter. Let alone they went into the first game and got blown up by Cincinnati 50-0.
But at least they were there and they could have won a playoff game. We'll never know because they're not there now.
Well,
I get your point though.
I'm just wondering if you're going through a phase that you turned from 23 to 24.
It could be.
He
a
seems
coincidence.
different. Don't you think?
Yeah.
He's different.
Yeah, hitting
Do I?
24.
Yeah, you seem different.
No, I want to.
I haven't seen you since you turned 24. I don't think.
Yes, he has.
Yes, you have.
With his new look, he looks
His-
like Killer Kowalski.
There,
The
to
Crusher.
our fans, why do you think I disclaim
I was in
90% of what he says? He
I was
just
in Atlanta when he got
he
the
just worked. He just worked with Nick last week,
Oh, I get some of that cookie.
and he was 24 then.
Okay.
His birthday was last year, December 29th. Thanks to Mark Richard for watching us. Thanks for Eric Rode. We got somebody called Feelin' Fartsy. What's on my mind? Get to see Son's haircut for the first time on TV. Great show. Lots of energy tonight. So we don't know who Feelin' Fartsy is, but thanks for your kind words. So we appreciate that. And Nick, I'm not trying to pick on you, but thanks for switching up on the baseball because, you know, this is football season, Penguin season time.
I like baseball.
Well, you can like baseball.
I'm going
all
to say
year.
plenty about the Steelers next. Don't worry, it's coming.
Okay.
Let's go
say-
Pins.
All right.
To the Suns.
Well, Smoking Jim's so foolish that we'll forget about that comment. All right. What's on your mind, Talking Machine? How do I add to all these guys except for Smoking Jim? How I will do is think about the Jets game. How did we lose the Jets game? And if we won the game, Nick would not hate the Steelers
That's not true.
because they would have been in the playoffs before the last game.
Yes, sir.
So he wouldn't have been able to hate the Steelers. And I'm trying not to pick on him, but he's pulling out these strong emotions here where normally he's just with the facts, ma'am. But he's gotten emotional because all of a sudden, like a lot of you fans, you saw how we were losing the beginning of the year. The standard is the standard. Mediocrity is our new standard. The rubber hit the road and we were gone. The next man up didn't step up. Next man up on the line, offensive line, there were none. And we saw some improvement. Like I said, watching things when people get healthy. Look at TJ Watt. What did he miss games? We were 1-6 without him. And now we win 7 games with him in there. Well, doesn't he control the game where they have 2 or 3 guys on him? And how about Cam Hayward, who Smoking Jim said they shouldn't have signed? They have 2 to 3 guys blocking him each time. So how can Highsmith not get sacks and not get in on a quarterback? Do the math. 3 plus 3 out of 11 is 6 players. There's only 5 left to block our guys, and we only have 1 guy getting in there. Hence Gunn's point about we need a defensive line. So we have all these things with an imperfect team. We don't have a projected Hall of Fame quarterback playing for us anymore. So that's a big difference there. When you have to deal with a rookie quarterback, I'll go back to Smoking Jim gave 10 examples out of 5,000 first-year quarterbacks that had any success, and he hasn't once mentioned that Purdy guy in San Francisco. He was the irrelevant last pick in the draft. Smoking Jim didn't even have him on his fake draft reports that he wanted to have him on the Steelers, like he had Duck. You know, we don't want to go back to Duck, and nobody wanted Duck. Mr. Irrelevant has led San Francisco to be in the running for the playoffs and potentially with their defense get in the Super Bowl again.
I got a 49er hat too.
So, and that's pretty darn good, as they would say. But look what we have to deal with. We have coaches that are disrespectful to the media where he works and others. People talk behind his back, derogatory about how arrogant he is. and how he's not as good as Cowher and all these other things. But yet now they want to make him coach of the year because somehow he revived a dead team. Oh, how does our defense after a sack do CPR?
Oh, my goodness.
You talk about disrespectful, so I got to go to the coach. When you know they do these celebrations, where is Mike Tomlin, their buddy, telling them that's disrespectful to Damar Hamlin, his family, and the NFL? The EMT saved his life. He was out of the hospital within a week. Can you imagine if you had cardiac arrest, where would you be today? And it was a week ago. Think about that for a minute. How disrespectful and sad I am, Nick, to see our players that are your age and younger being disrespectful to a tragic event. How is that even possible? And these are some of the things that, hey, do I like the Steelers winning? I love it. But there's so much intertwined with it, with what we see good and bad, and they're not that good of a team. If you think Pickett has improved, maybe a little bit, but I have problems with his vision. He's worried about getting hit and tackled and running. He misses 2/3 of the field on every play. Now, I know he's a rookie, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Has he been cool under pressure? Sure, at times. How about his stats? Tell me that he's done a great job looking at his stats for this year. And if you tell me he's great, I don't believe you're a football fan. And that's what's on my mind. We're going 10 seconds, Smoking Jim's Fiction and Fact with his almanac.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine, and it's always a good day when I got my main man Mikey on the camera. But I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine.
What?
Just to go around the horn real quick. Again, I said I was the first one to ever say that, look for Canada to be back next year, and I'll tell you guys why in following weeks is a business decision. They had to bring him back. I would right now, I would fire Terrell Austin. I know we got enough black people out of work, but I would fire Terrell Austin right now.
Disclaimer.
And
Truly, Smoking Jim, Smoking Jim, stop.
Man.
For all the people that think Smoking Jim's racist, he truly isn't. This is just how he talks. And he is a black man with all these white guys. If we said it, we'd be in serious trouble. So the disclaimer is we can't believe almost everything that he says. So carry on.
Well, I would fire Terrell Austin, and I would hire Flores. Flores is up for a couple.
And who are you?
I'm just saying, I'm just giving my opinion. This is Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac, and I'm just giving my opinion on what
Thank
I
you
would
for
do.
clarifying that.
And
I was struggling.
The reason
I
I would
was
do
struggling.
that is because, like Gunn said, first of all, I think that Flores is getting a token interview with Cleveland. No way they're going to hire him as defensive coordinator. But the Steelers went and they started being successful the last couple of weeks of the season when they went to a 6 defensive line. And that has to come from Flores because I've never seen it before in Steeler history. So I have to give him the credit for doing that. So I would promote him to defensive coordinator, get rid of
Hold it.
Terrell
How does
Austin.
he have the power to do that?
Pardon me?
I just said straight up. How does Flores have that power?
Nobody else has the
Who's in
idea
charge?
of doing that.
Who's in charge?
It was his idea.
How do you even base that on anything?
Well, in my opinion, again.
Okay.
So,
Appreciate
because I haven't
that.
seen it before until he got here.
Well,
What I
isn't
would do-
Austin here?
What I would do, yeah, he was here last year too, and I've never seen that. What I would do next year in the draft, and this may go outside the box, I would bring in, there's some great tight ends out there. I would draft a blocking tight end in the first round. Notre Dame has one, and Michael Mayer, that's 6'6", 270 pounds. He can catch and block. Don't forget, I love the tight end that we have now, number 88. Concussion problems, not a great blocker. Now, when you got a young quarterback, 2 tight end offense, a lot of times that's good for the blocking, that's good for passes, good passes for the quarterback, and there's so many productive tight ends in the league. And lastly, taking a page from Guns,
You're
I
taking
would-
a lot of pages
I
from
would,
him.
because he said it before I could say
Ah.
it. But in the
Way to
second,
go, Guns.
in the second round with my first round pick, and my first round
Hold
pick
it,
in the
I got to
second
interrupt
round,
you.
Yeah.
Everybody gave me so much abuse that I said it was the best thing we could do value for
And you were
Claypool.
wrong then, and you're still wrong.
I'm still right.
You're still
We
wrong.
got the 32nd pick, second round pick for Claypool.
That's amazing.
And he didn't even play. He was a brittle brother like Smoking Jim describes.
That
He didn't
scored
play
11
half
touch-
of
that
the.
caught 11, that's caught 11 touchdowns his rookie year.
What's he done since?
Smoking knows
Oh,
this
man,
is a.
you got to rest your case. You're
I-
too fired
I-
up
I-
today.
I'll get
Did
you.
you have a bad
I
day
got-
with your
But
sweeties?
this is what I do so I can get to the end of my thing.
No, but I'm
But I
not
would-
letting you. I'm not letting you because now.
We agree to disagree.
No, I don't. I can't even say that
Okay.
because we now have a 32nd pick in the draft
Yeah.
with a second round pick.
Yeah.
What did we have before?
We probably could have got that with Deontay Johnson.
We
and
just
still
paid
had
him
Claypool.
$18 million.
Well, we still could have traded him.
No, but they're not going to pay it for anybody else.
They got the money. Chicago.
They wouldn't pay it.
I actually have a theory on that for the VIP.
Well,
so
let me
we'll
get
Go
done
ahead.
with this.
Try to finish.
Now, let me get done with this. I would think you have to draft with your first round pick in the second round, which is still a first round pick. I would
Number
still,
32.
with number 32. I would take run blitzing middle linebacker. We had that with Kendrell Bell. We had that with Brown, the Snake Man. A guy that can get you 8 to 10 sacks, blitzing from the middle linebacker position. Kirkland, LeVon Kirkland was a guy like that too, and that could knock people out in a running game because now we have a 15-sack outside linebacker in Highsmith. We got a 15-plus sack with T.J. Watt. I think we can get another year of production with Hayward. And now if you put that run blitzing middle linebacker that can create havoc up the middle and will serve a purpose because we need a middle linebacker. That's what I do. A blocking tight end in round 1, middle linebacker in round 2.
Smoking Jim, I'm so sorry I delayed this because you finally made sense.
I
At the
always
end,
do.
no, you don't. At the end of Fiction and Fact. Now we script this, so he finally got to the point at the end of it. I gotta agree with you
Thank you.
because they never replaced Shazier.
Well, yeah.
He was just starting to.
And don't forget, I gave the Steelers in the war room Darius Leonard. I said that he was better than Shazier, and
What about
they didn't
Van
draft him.
Escher or whatever? Who was?
They ended up drafting the guy that went to the prom with Tomlin went to the prom with his mom, Edmonds. They drafted him in the first round, and we've been struggling ever since.
All right, thank you, Smoking Jim. Thanks for letting me interrupt you because you were so far out there that you came back to reality. I respect you. No, you think that. And that's why I love you as a brother because he's from a different mother. Steve Callis is watching. And Steve, I appreciate you watching, but Smoking Jim speaks the truth. I'm not sure that's 100%. Patty Sanford Lonsberry's watching. Thank you for watching. Tony has a special question for Guns, so you must have impressed them. What's your favorite all-time golfer?
Ben Hogan.
There you heard it. Chief said Notre Dame's guy is a monster, but we have a good one. And we're going to move on to the next segment. It's going to be Jim Ellenbogen Guns.
Nick, you immortalized me. Are we ready?
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
All right. My first 3 picks if I were the Steelers next year.
Yeah.
First draft, left offensive tackle, Move open the door more to guard. He's a better guard than a tackle, and put Dodson on the bench as a fill-in. My second would be a 300-pound defensive end who can blow in to get the quarterback and give Hayward and give Watt some help. Third draft, a lightning middle linebacker, like you said. You got to get some speed in the middle. Spillane, if you run at him, he'll stop you, but he's too slow.
No, he's 2.5 steps slow.
I love him.
Exactly. Another thing, Deontay Johnson. I'm starting to think that he hears footsteps
Yes, sir.
because he runs backwards every play. So I think that a lot of his drops is he's hearing them coming. I think he's afraid of getting hurt or getting hit.
We had a little conversation privately. I agree with you 110%. I've seen it over the years, and you wonder how he can make these spectacular catches, not quite like Pickens,
Right.
but all of a sudden he catches it and he goes 5 yards back.
Right.
What were we always taught? Go forward, go north and south.
Pickens, speaking of him, he's a future NFL Hall of Famer if he continues the way he's going. That kid's
Ooh.
amazing.
Hot take.
Last thing I want to say about the Steelers
Yeah.
for the year, and I've said that they have some fear of the red zone.
Yeah.
In fact, Smoking Jim, if you ever owe the Steelers money, hide in the end zone. They'll never get there.
I second that emotion. That is the greatest comment on Pittsburgh Sportsline. The degenerate gambler that Smoking Jim is, he can respect it. Definitely.
And you know, I never thought I'd ever think this, but it seems that Pitt basketball may be the only saving grace this winter. You know, beating a couple ranked teams. You know,
Who would think?
and
I just asked, where's Jamie Dixon?
yeah. And how about our esteemed colleague Steve from the Memory Show when he was saying the Penguins are going to make the playoffs? And you remember what I said? I said,
We'll see.
we'll see. Well, since then, the third line still is awful, and they're still not starting Crosby in overtime. So there's problems there.
They did come back in this game, though. The game's tied.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, but you know, we'll
Go
wait and
Pens.
see. Go
Pens.
Pens. If not, you know, maybe this kid from Duke that they got coaching Pitt's basketball team, maybe he is much better than we've seen instead
Well,
of
it's
just
only
living.
been 5 years in his regime, so
Well, I mean, he's
we're
living.
patient because we were patient with Jamie Dixon getting to the NCAA finals all the time. You know,
Well,
being
you know,
in there.
he was living off Coach K's rep, so now it's time to start.
Well, it
putting up.
happens. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been living off your rep all these years.
He's a
I
good-
know. I appreciate that.
The coach for Pitt is a great recruiter, and the portal's been helping him. He couldn't recruit here to Pitt before that, but now that people's jumping in the portal, he's been recruiting some great guys out of there.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Smoking Jim.
Help big time.
Very truthful and observant.
I
You're
agree.
on a hot
I'm a
streak.
journalist.
Tell me how you spell it.
And one other thing,
Yay.
boy, did TCU get spanked.
Yeah. Guess who he had in there with the points?
Did
Did
have the
you?
point? You didn't have the point.
Who, what?
Did you have
TCU.
TCU?
Oh, no,
did
I
you?
had Georgia all the way.
You don't mess with the Bulldogs.
Although,
2 in a row.
although I had Michigan
Yes.
last week.
Oh, I understand.
rough.
I don't know how Michigan lost to that team now, but I seen what the Bulldogs did to them. My Lord.
The offense and defense of Georgia was just unbelievable.
Oh, and my final thing
Go
is,
ahead.
I don't see anything great happening for Pitt football. I mean, I just don't. I think it's going to be another mediocre season. They'll never be as good as when I went to Pitt.
Whoa.
We were number one in the country.
All right.
Tell
all
us
right,
what year.
Kevin.
Tell us what year.
I don't want to date myself.
Okay. He's still younger than he looks.
All I know is, we went to the Sugar Bowl and we won, and we were number one in the country.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
ain't nobody beat us. So everything after that is we're like the Miami Dolphins.
That's it. That's it. Papa.
Ain't no one ever
are.
gonna be better than our team was.
You are. Great,
So-
great segment, Guns. We appreciate it. All right, let's go to VIP time right now. 10 seconds.
All right, the Steelers did make the playoffs. Everybody knows that by now.
You even
So what do
told
I
us
think about
that.
it? I did.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
what do I think about it? So Matt Canada, there's been a lot of speculation going around him, and it seems that the insiders at the Fan, some of them think that because of Kenny Pickett's comments after Sunday's elimination game after they won but didn't make the playoffs, Kenny Pickett talked about how they're going to build a relationship. They're building a relationship well, and they've been growing well together throughout the season, and it's been good to just start getting to know him, which makes me think, okay, he's staying. But then an insider today was telling us that usually, because Tomlin's comments were more of, I'm not going to speculate right now, we don't know, I'm not going to let you know anything. Usually when a guy's staying, a head coach will typically just come right out and say that, not say, well, we haven't made any decisions yet, because if you didn't make any decisions, then maybe you're leaning toward him getting the boot. So I don't like Matt Canada. I've said that before. I hope that he doesn't come back for a couple reasons. Number one, because I don't think that he was promoting the offense well enough and calling plays well enough to get them where they need to be. I don't care how well they came back, because I think that their competition toward the end of the year was a little weak, so there's that. Second of all, if it wasn't actually his fault, then Tomlin's going to get exposed, and that's going to help us as fans kind of understand the process, because if Matt Canada doesn't work out and they bring in somebody like Frank Reich or, God forbid, Cliff Kingsbury, not that I like him, but one of these offensive geniuses that come in.
He just
and
wasn't a good head coach.
I guess, yeah, he didn't do very well. But, okay, let's say they bring in one of these guys and they don't do well. Then I'm going to start being like, okay, well, how much is Tomlin affecting that? Then I'm going to start asking those questions, and we'll get more definitive, because it can't be every single offensive coordinator not doing well. So that's why I hope Canada doesn't come back, because he's either holding them back, or him not being there anymore is going to expose who's actually holding them back. Number two, I don't like Deontay Johnson for many of the reasons that these guys talked about, running backwards, not catching passes consistently, just struggles. Like, I can't have a top wide receiver on a team that's going to drop the ball, even if it's just for the first half of the year. Like, if he's not going to get it straight all the time, he's not a top receiver, because some of those drops impact games for the worse. So somebody proposed today, because the Cardinals are trying to move DeAndre Hopkins, maybe trading because their salaries are similar, taking on a guy who's already established. I'm not opposed to that, but
Sign me up. Let me just tell you, sign me up.
But move Deontay Johnson now. Not even if it's DeAndre Hopkins, but find a way to slate Johnson. I don't like him on the receiving core. And if they can get a return that's similar to the one for Chase Claypool, I'm sorry you don't like it, but it's actually really
Thanks
good for
for
the
liking my comment. Yes,
it
Nick.
was good for the franchise that the Dolphins screwing up and going
Thank
into
you so
scandal
much, Nick.
ruined their picks. So the Steelers essentially have 2 first-round picks and 3 picks in the top 45. So that's a good thing.
He's on fire.
Chase Claypool wasn't good enough to forgo a second-round pick like that, and the Bears collapsed at the end of the year to give the Steelers that advantage. So that worked out. It would be the same thing with Deontay Johnson. Johnson's not good enough to keep around for an alternative, like a draft pick or an established receiver that could make an impact. So those are my 2 opinions. Fire Matt Canada. It'll benefit the team either way. And get rid of Deontay Johnson. His impact is no longer equal to the value of his contract.
Thank you, Nick. I got to bring a couple rebuttals, but we're going to go to On Location. 10 seconds.
You need to show his head flying. There it is.
You're up.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Live TV, folks. So we had a little discussion here. First off, Steve Callis, looks like the show well on its way to having the lowest amount of disclaimers ever. Not quite, Steve. Remember, Pirates always start season tied for first place. Smoking Jim doesn't know that, Steve, so that was a great comment. You know they're tied at 0-0. He understands that. All right, let's see what else we got. Chief said VIP equals MVP.
Thank you.
Shout out to Michael Thompson watching the show. We appreciate you. Ralph, I know that Jamie Dixon coaches at TCU, but he's not a football coach. He's just the basketball coach. And we kept going to the NCAA, finals, and we didn't get there to win it, so they got rid of them. You understand how they work, and you know the politics of sports better than I do in the city of Pittsburgh. So just making that little comment.
Truth.
On location, March 10th, we're at the Priory Hotel for the Donnybrook. The Ireland team comes and fights the Pittsburgh team. Then our man Jose Carabello from Ray Schaefer Boxing, he booked us, mark this date down, Nick and Smokin' Jim, March 11th, 6 o'clock at the Millville Community Center. He wants you with the cameras there again. So we've got that. And then it's for Golden Gloves. Then he said the 18th of March, mark your calendars because you got to talk to Gloria, our friend Gloria. With Golden Gloves, we'll probably be doing it the 18th.
Wow.
Then we got April Fool's Day at the Providence School in Troy Hill with Grandmaster Zhang Taekwondo.
Yeah.
We got a show going there on a Saturday. It's April Fool's Day, but we'll have some fun ourselves. And then we're going to April 22nd with the Western Pennsylvania Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Bill Kai has me talking to Smokin' Jim on how we're going to do pre-interviews to the Hall of Fame and post-interviews with supposedly inductees. So Smokin' Jim has a secret folder. He's going to have to show me information so I can try to talk intelligently and Smokin' Jim can be Ed McMahon. So we got that coming up. Just to rebut you on a couple
Well,
things.
before you go there, on the 22nd of April, we're putting in the VIPs guy into the Hall of Fame. Your co-worker's going in.
Which one?
Black guy.
That narrowed it down.
In the morning.
Doran Dickerson.
Yes, sir. That's the one.
Jose Carabella's a jockey at Gulfstream.
Yes, but no. He's
I try
I
not
thought
to
it
think
was
of
the
race
jockey. I was
He's a
all excited.
boxer.
I was all excited.
Yeah, that's close.
I try not to think of race first though, so that didn't really
You're no Smokin' Jim.
that didn't really register with me.
Steve Englert's watching. Thanks for watching. Amy gave an update. Penguins tied 3-3. All right. The one thing I rebut with you is Matt Canada, I give him 2 cents of credit. He saw what he had as a team, and he realized here's what you do with his playbook. You throw it away. You have guys that can't even go down hut one and block a guy.
So you don't blame Canada.
And then you have a running back. What's the injury he had, Smokin' Jim, in preseason? Liz Frank. That means it's a fracture of your foot. And then he saw Najee Harris couldn't make cuts, couldn't go left or right, could barely go straight. They only had him on the field because everybody thought he was a bust and had no character and worse things than that. He was hurt.
Worse?
Yeah, well, worse things than that we can't say on air.
I gave it a shot.
Yeah, well, you, if anybody, could lead the league with.
Yeah, I know. I just,
And they all were telling me
politically
about
incorrect.
it. But I like to look for different facts that are out there because I believe coaches can pump players up and give them guidance, no matter how 2-cent brain they are, which means they just want to do their own thing. So if the coach is any good, and we don't have that right now, they do something called coach 'em up. It happened to all of us in high school, college, etc. Good coaches, what do? Coach you up to be better. What do? They challenge a Smokin' Jim looks like Urkel. They tell him to run to the goal line so he doesn't go backwards like Deontay. He goes forward.
Everyone go over the goal.
And that's what he does. So these different things, I can't blame Canada. Who I do blame is when you want to kill a snake, you cut the head off.
Yes, sir.
The head of the snake is Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney. So those are our problems. I just looked up because I forgot. It's so long ago and I'm getting old. 2009 is the last year we won our Super Bowl. And you go back, look at what he's talking about, mediocrity. Now we just want to have a winning record, and now our young pup, he's disappointed because he thought they were going for championships the last 13 years. He was wrong. Imagine being 11 years old thinking we're going for championships, and now at 24 he hates the Steelers. He blew my mind at the end of last year when he came out hating them. So I thought, what would I think if I were 11 years old? Well, guess what? I didn't like the Steelers at 11 years old because we had been losing since 1933.
Yeah.
So now I know where he's coming from on hating them. But in '69, I started liking the Steelers and realized they started a dynasty that's league renowned, one of the best ever. So what are we doing? We're just going back to how Art Rooney, the Chief, who was a legend, how he ran the team. And that's how simple it is. How do we deal with it? That's the problem. You have guns, Smoking Jim, we don't know where he's at, and how I am. So me, I enjoy watching good football games. When they aren't playing well, I can tell that. Now, I'm not an expert, but just watch the game. If you have 3 or 4 defensive linemen on an offensive call in your backfield, you tell me how they improved. When you see you can get past the 2 in the backfield and go forward like Najee's done, guess what? They did improve a little bit because there's not 4 in there. There's not 5 in there. There's only 2 back there. Guess what? I'll bet on Najee healthy with 2 defensive linemen in the backfield. He gets past them. And that's what I have to just share. It's open discussion now for
Who do we
anybody.
like in the playoffs this weekend? I think that's
Yeah.
valid.
Bring it up.
I look for 49ers look like they could be the sleeper in this whole deal. But I'll tell you what, I think when the money's on the table, the Chiefs are going to be there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, it's
Nick?
going to be tough because they got to play the neutral site against Buffalo. That's always on because both teams got great home field advantages. But I tell you what, anytime you got Mahomes, you got to give the edge. He's my MVP of the league this year.
Well, anybody can get
That's
5,000
them fragrance
yards.
pass he does in a commercial where he throws soap in.
Right. Anybody can get 5,000 yards for the second time at his age.
Amazing.
Guess what? He has the edge. I like San Francisco. I like that. And we just have to see with these other games. And the way the refereeing, I hate to do it. Dad, may you leave me alone on this one. He was a great referee. He always said, if you notice the referees, we're not doing our job. Guess what? I noticed the referees.
I have some love for the Dallas Cowboy head coach, who's a Greenfield, Pittsburgh boy.
Yeah,
I know his
McCarthy.
family, know the whole family. They're good people. I'd love to see Mike be successful, considering how Green Bay did him wrong. So we'll see.
Bishop Boyle, right? Bishop Boyle
Yeah.
High School.
Mhm.
I'm glad you two can
His
swap
father
this.
was a city policeman and city fireman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And was it your dad, too?
Yeah, my dad was. My
It's
dad
a
was
small world, Smoking Jim. You're sitting next to it right there. Well, we're running out of time. Any last comment, Nick?
I like the 49ers as well. I also think Jacksonville is going to be one of those sleepers that gets through the first round.
How about Trevor
And
Lawrence?
I
Well,
think
he's a-
I think the Ravens are going to
beast.
collapse. They're not strong enough to be in the playoffs.
Hold it. Will Lamar be playing hurt?
Probably
I
not.
got a Chief hat too.
All right. We'll have to see what
I'm ready.
happens.
I even had a
You know, I
Green-
don't trust
Green
the
Bay.
Ravens
Gotta-
with how they are either.
Gotta
You
be
know,
ready.
you can't
Eagle
have an
hat,
injured
too.
starting quarterback.
They're unstable.
Yes,
Go
definitely.
Jacksonville, though. They got to lose.
All
They got
right.
my
Hey,
hat.
thanks for watching the show. Appreciate you all out there and your input back and forth. Till next week, stay Joey strong.